Positive energy all the time. Here I go, starting stuff. But there's things that need to be addressed, and I'm here for it. So rep your city, rep your city. We're going to get something straight about history. We're going to get that straight. We got these ancient history people trying to push ancient history over recent history. We're going to get that straight. Ancient history is never, ever, anywhere close to recent history. During the times of ancient history, their recent history at that time was the most important history. So we're going to get into that. Rep your city. Everybody on Twitch, I'm representing Chicago. Everybody on Kick, everybody on YouTube, and everybody on Facebook. I am representing Chicago, Illinois. We have San Jose, California in the building, representing the beautiful city of San Jose. We have the lovely and beautiful Kathy in the building, represent Shreveport. That's doing big, big things. I will be down there supporting my brother 50 Cent. We got Fresno in the building. And I'm over here kicking down walls again, trying to help the younger generation be focused. Okay? Young generation, get focused. Get focused. We got New Orleans in the building. Ancient history is cute, not vital, and not important. Never will be. Never, ever will be as important as recent history. And the closer you get, the more important it is. So for us, you take 400 years. The 400-year period is not as important as the 300-year period. The 300-year period is not as important as the 200-year period. And the 200-year period is not as important as the 100 years ago. The closer you get, the more the importance. That's just a fact. Even when we get down to your personal life, whatever's been going on with you this year is more important than what went on last year. That is a fact. Your job, your relationship, your family, your children, your home, your lawn, whatever, you're dealing with recent history. That's what we deal with. We deal with recent history and the near future. Recent history is you worked last year. The near future is you get your last week. You worked last week. That's recent history. You went to work last week. The next thing is you get paid next week or this week. This is what we deal with in the real world. We deal with we worked last week and we get paid this week or tomorrow or in the future. We are working and have worked in the recent past to get paid in the near future, in the real world. In the real world, you tracing yourself back to the ancient Hebrew Israelites means nothing in 2025. Zero with the rim knocked off. It means zero with the rim knocked off. It's absolutely worthless information. Absolutely. worthless. Can't cash it in for nothing. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. Come on in. Let me know where you represent. We're going to get into this, why I throw a lot of these so-called scholars and teachers under the bus. They are worthless. They're never there when we need them today. They're not standing on none of the pushes that we need today. And if you was think that your lineage goes back to an ancient king, but you ain't standing on business today, you must have been a buster in ancient times. In ancient times, you probably wasn't focused either, because we know that a king or a pharaoh got to be focused on their dynasty. We know that. They got to be focused on the food they have to provide for their kingdom today, of the military protection they got to provide for their kingdom today, for their children and their queen and the safety of their people today. No king rules 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Every great leader is in the moment today. And if you ain't in the moment today, you're not a leader. You're a historian, and stay in a historian place. Because historians ain't warriors. Historians is librarians. Need to be in a library, get a book, and sit down. We're going to get into it with Big Pharaoh. Because I'm in today. I'm Pharaoh today. I'm not Pharaoh back. No. Don't really care much about them back then. They got no reference to my life. They don't make no difference in my life. None. My life has been altered by near history. My parents, my grandparents. That's the stuff that my life is regulated on. My life is regulated on my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my children, and my grandchildren. That's my world. Grandchildren, children, me, mom and dad, grandparents, great-grandparents. That's my world. My world ain't nobody back in ancient time. They say, well, you represent Kennedy. I represent a Kemetic person in the United States today. That's what I represent. I represent an ancient pharaoh living in Chicago. I'm the pharaoh in Chicago in 2025. Okay? If you beef, I'm not going to get, if you try to attack my family, I'm not going to go get an ancient weapon. Okay? I'm not going to go get an ancient Egyptian spear. I don't protect my family with no ancient Egyptian weapons. I'm just saying. I don't have an ancient stove. I don't have an ancient refrigerator. As a matter of fact, I'm on live stream on the computer, live streaming today on Today Technology, to be honest with you. This is brought to you courtesy of YouTube and StreamYard today. Yeah, this is brought to you on Facebook today, on Twitch today, on Kick today. That's what this live stream represents today. That's why it's called a live stream. It's not called a history stream. This is a live stream today. And that's why I push eating right, so I could be here tomorrow. Because I'm looking into the future. I'm not looking in the past. I'm exercising so I could be strong in the future. I'm plant-based so I could be healthy in the future. I'm not plant-based to be healthy 2 years ago. I'm just saying. But we're going to get into it. Because I got people telling me, well, you got pyramids and you got stuff. What that got to do with reparations today? I'm trying to figure out, what do ancient symbolism got to do with reparations today? I'm trying to figure that out. Help me get some understanding. Help me get some understanding. So come on in. We're going to get into it. Because historians are holding Black foundational Black Americans back. Because they're not in the here and now. They're not in the here and now. They in the way. To me, historians are in the way. Dick Gregory did more for me than any historian. Because Dick Gregory showed me how to be alive in the future. Historians ain't really showed me nothing of any real serious value. It's a little interesting. I ain't gonna lie. It's a little interesting. But it's not really valuable. To me. It's not valuable. I couldn't really build no value, no worthwhile value from ancient history. Even the concept of teaching ancient history is futuristic because you're teaching it today. So how is today less important than the ancient history when you're teaching the ancient history today? Make it make some kind of sense. You know, we say forward ever, backwards never. Forward ever, backwards never. And our people are being distracted with nonsense. They are. There's too much effort in trying to be the smartest person rather than get something done. We need to be trying to get things done. The whole idea that you know everything what happened 15,000 years ago is not impressive to me. To me, you know a bunch of worthless information. And there's not one historian that could actually debate me and show me the value of ancient history. They would lose the debate. Even Christians. When it comes to me knowing about Christ, compared to Emmett Till, I'm going to take Emmett Till. Emmett Till has more value. Emmett Till has more to do with my parents and my situation with the same type of racists still here today. I'm not dealing with Pontius Pilate. I'm not dealing with the ancient Romans. I'm not dealing with Europeans overseas. I'm dealing with races right here in America. Yeah. This history trumps Christ. Yeah. All day, any day. Any day. Any day, Emmett Till trumps Christ in terms of historical. Any day. Any day and every day. Any day and every day. Any day and every day. We can have that debate and anybody would lose. Because for my children and my grandchildren, guess what trumps Emmett Till? George Floyd. George Floyd trumps Emmett Till. Yeah. Yeah, in 2025, George Floyd trumps Emmett Till and trumps the crucifixion of Christ. We watched a man be crucified on TV, on video. We watched it. We watched it. I didn't see Christ get nailed to the cross, but I watched them unalive George Floyd. I didn't even see what happened to Emmett Till, but my parents did. That's why it's got value based on how it affected my parents, which affected my childhood. My childhood, being born in 1958 and growing up in the 60s, was affected by Emmett Till. But my life now and the life of my children is affected by George Floyd. I'm just saying, checkmate all the way around. These are our facts. Young people, you better listen to me. So for anybody to try to compare foundational Black Americans trying to get reparations for us now and our children and our grandchildren, anybody that compare that to somebody did in ancient Egypt is a fool. Basically. It's not even close to important. as reparations is, as what they did to your recent ancestors, to your grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, which a lot of you all are young, so you can't relate to how recent that was. You can't relate that I was born in 1958 and you wasn't free until 1970. You can't relate to that because your scholars ain't teaching you that. They're not teaching you your recent history, which is always very important for you to know your recent history. They say you got to know where you come from to know where you're going. When they saying that, they mean where you recently came from to know where you're going to go in the near future. They don't mean where you came from 15,000 years ago. They mean you need to know what your grandparents and great-grandparents and parents went through so that you can prepare a way for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. That don't mean you're supposed to know what happened to some people 1,500 years ago. Knowing what happened to some people 1,500 years ago cannot help you tomorrow. None. Can't help you at all. And this is not somebody talking that haven't read all of the history. This is not somebody talking that haven't read Dr. Ben and haven't listened to all of the scholars. That stuff is useless. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams is a great book, but it's useless to your life today. It's a great book. That's why we say it's a good read. It's no problem with having a good read, but in terms of the importance of it, every good read is not important. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Yosef Ben Shakhanan is a great read. Is it of any value today? Absolutely not. It is 100% worthless in 2025 heading into 2026. There is nothing you can do with that information at all. Nothing. There's no scholar want this smoke. They can't show me 10 things you could do with that information. They would just be making it up. You can do nothing with that information. The only historical information of any value is the historical information about a certain industry you're in. So if you're a farmer, all history of farming is valuable because you can learn what they did to kill weeds and pestilence back in ancient West Africa. All that's valuable. In terms of health, knowing what herbs they used to take to cure a cold, stuff like that is valuable. But historical data based on timelines ain't valuable. Knowing who was the king here and who was the pharaoh after that and who was the pharaoh after that is not valuable at all. There's nothing you can do with that information. There's nothing that you can do learning about Ramesses or Akhenaten or Seti there's nothing you can do with that information. That is worthless information that is non-applicable. You can't apply it at all in real life. That's why religious blacks are horrible because all they talk about is old religious stuff. They're never up to date. They're never dealing with today. They're always dealing with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jesus. They're always dealing with Muhammad way back. They never have any value. They never have any value today. They want you to go to church and hear what Peter said and Paul said. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep it a billion. You in church and they like First Peter, and Peter said this. Paul said to the Corinthians. And I don't even know no Corinthians. I know some Black Americans. I know some FBAs. I see some Venezuelans. I see some Mexicans. I see some white Americans. I don't know no Corinthians. No Ephesians. No Romans. I don't know no Galatians. Why did you read me the book of Galatians? What the Galatians, what somebody said to the Samaritans. I don't know no Samaritan. Samaritans for Samaritan. I don't know them people. I was talking about this to a young lady, and she said, so what about Christ? I said, the one they nailed to the cross? She said, I can't believe you said that. Yeah, I said it. I know all I need to know about dude. They nailed his ass to the cross. I don't see how that's valuable to me at all. I don't see how me studying on Christ today about a Christ that was active when he was alive. If you following Christ, then you would be active when you alive. You understand? If you following Christ, you would look at what Christ was doing then, and would you get busy in the history, or would you get busy today? And the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost is false, because you ain't got no Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. You got a father, a son, a mother, and a daughter. The Holy Ghost was misogynism, where they took the women out of Christianity and replaced the women with the Holy Ghost. So you got to step your knowledge up, Toby, because they replaced the woman with the Holy Ghost. Because it got to the point where the Hebrew Israelites didn't respect women, and God ain't got no wife. It's just God and his Son and the Holy Ghost. Yet in the Bible say, let us make man in our image, male and female. So how could God say, let us make man in our image, male and female, if there's not no female God? Checkmate. Checkmate, that debate would be over. Toby lost already. And there's all the evidence of misogyny in the Bible. The disrespect and the hate for women. It's all through the Bible. I don't got no Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. I got a father and a mother and me and my sister in the real world. In the real world, in the real world, yeah. Yeah, in the real world, I don't know about the fake world, but in the real world, I don't got no Holy Ghost in my family. Yeah, in the real world. Here go my family. I see a father, a son, a mother, and a daughter. I don't see no Holy Ghost. And the Trinity is false. The Trinity is fake. It's always 4. It's never 3. The Holy Trinity is fake. It's always 4. It's never 3. It's up, down, this way, that way. There's 4 directions in the world. How is it a 3? How is there a Trinity? If it was a Trinity, it'd be north, south, and east. Wouldn't be no west. Why is it north, south, east, and west? So the Holy Trinity is fake. Checkmate again. Yeah, checkmate again. 3 is false. It's 4. 4 is the divine number. 3 is not. But this big Pharaoh, I went to Lutheran schools in 7th and 8th grade and had to take catechism and all that. So I'm a master at theology. I've been a master at theology since the 7th grade. And I listen to them Europeans lie. And all their stuff is false. In fact, there is no Trinity. It's 4. You was taught it's like being a son, husband, and father. Yeah, what somebody told you wrong. So are you over here to learn? Or are you over here to parrot false information? Let me know if you're over here to learn, because if not, I'll get you the hell out of here. It's real simple. Because I could have swore you was over here to hear what Pharaoh said. So if not, and you know everything, log off and don't waste your time if you know everything. Because you was taught, somebody told you wrong. And then Roots Toby was a slave name. But I'm Kunta Kinte. And you Toby. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They say the pyramids is 4. No, it's not. It's the 3 corners and the point. It's 4 points on the pyramid. There's 4 points on the pyramid. There's the 3 and then the 1 at the top. There is 4 points on the pyramid. Prove me wrong. The pyramid has 4 points. The 3 on the bottom and the 1 at the top. Prove me wrong. Does the pyramid represent 3 or 4? The pyramid represents 4, not 3, but they never count the point at the top. They never count the father. They never count the point at the top, the father. I'm just saying. So back to what I'm saying, I'm talking about separating time periods. So what do I mean? Let's get to that. Shout out to Zip with the Drip. Let's get to that. Let's get to that. Let's get to that. Shout out to my man Zip. And Pit Cat. Shout out to Pit. I can't leave Pit Cat out. I think it's a pit bull, but it's a cat. Shout out to Pit Cat too. Look, what am I talking about? Separating time periods. For foundational Black Americans, you must separate time periods. We must separate ancient history from what we got to do today. We must function on today. You have to separate the time periods, because people say, well, how you FBA, but you relate to Kemet, because Kemet is my ancient lineage. So let me break it down. Let's say you live in a land called Royale, and you lived in Royale for thousands of years, and somebody conquered you in the land of Royale and took you into bondage, and you stayed into bondage 400 years, that 400 years would be a different time period, disconnected from when you was in Royale. So now you have two histories. You have your history in your kingdom when you was independent, but you also got this 400-year history of bondage. This is what foundational Black Americans are dealing with. We are dealing with our recent history. The same way the Fijians claim they're from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, but they are now dealing with Fiji. They are not dealing with, right? They are not dealing with ancient Kemet. Right? Hold on. Come back tomorrow. Yeah, come back tomorrow, bro. Right? So they're not dealing with ancient times when they was in Kemet. They are dealing with their life in Fiji. The Hawaiians, King Kamehameha and them came from other islands. Some people say they were originally in an area around Tahiti. They're not dealing with that time period before they got to Hawaii. They're only dealing with their lineage as Hawaiians. This is how it's done, people. And so for foundational Black Americans, we must deal with our lineage here, not our ancient lineage. We can recognize it. We can use symbolism with it, but we must bring that symbolism into today. So I'm representing Pharaoh in America. I'm not representing Pharaoh in Kemet. The pyramids, the Ankhs, all of that is symbolism that I'm bringing in today. And anybody got knowledge knows that this symbolism here on my live stream in the corners, you see the pyramid, knows that these symbols are in the Grand Canyon. Right? Anybody knows that that symbolism in my pictures is in the Grand Canyon. They just blocked it off so you can't see it. Anybody knows that. Those that got knowledge know at the time we had that symbolism, because you see the Ankhs in my picture, you've seen the pyramids. Those that really have knowledge know that that symbolism just doesn't just go back to Kebulon, Africa. Anybody with knowledge know that that symbolism was created before the Pangea, before everything split. So that symbolism you see in Kemet is a world symbolism. When you look at the picture that say Permain, that is symbolism created when all the continents used to fit together. That is global symbolism. That does not represent symbolism from the Cretaceous at the bottom. That symbolism goes all the way back to the top picture on your left. It's a global symbolism. So you got scholars that's not really scholars. They only teach the bottom picture on your right, but call themselves historians, when the true history is the top picture on the left. So Ankhs and all that was a global. That's why that stuff is in the Grand Canyon, because when this split up, the Grand Canyon floated over here. They say, them people must have came over here. No, the Grand Canyon floated over here and already had that stuff when the Pangea happened. That stuff was already here at the top picture on the left. And when you get to the bottom picture on the right, everything had floated. So that's why pyramids and stuff is everywhere, because all that stuff was built when we lived on the top picture on the left. That's when that stuff was built. Okay? That's when that stuff was built. That stuff was built when all of the land was united. So Ankhs and pyramids and stuff was all over the world, and you can go all over the world. You're going to see the same symbolism with Buddha and all that stuff is all over the world, because the world used to be one united landmass called the Pangea. And if you look to the right, where it says the ocean at 80 degrees, that's where Mu used to be. I mean, Atlantis filled that hole there. And if you look on the left, where you see those two little islands, that's where Mu used to be. It sunk. So this is bigger than that. This part would be filled in. That's to the right of Africa and Saudi Arabia. That's Mu. That island you see on the right in the water, that's the top of Mu. I mean Atlantis. So that island you see on the right is the top of Mu, right? And the island you see on the left is the top. I mean, the island you see on the right is the top of Atlantis, and the island you see on the left is the top of Mu. So the volcanoes and stuff, when I lived in Hawaii, that is the top of Mu. Hawaii is the top of Mu, because when you have volcanoes and a continent sinks, the volcano still be shooting up lava in the water. And that lava gonna grow and harden and become a little small thing. And it's gonna keep shooting up, because the volcano gets bigger and bigger and bigger. As it makes lava, it grows. To eventually that volcano is gonna make land. So right now, Hawaii's making new land with Kilauea and Mauna Loa on the Big Island. Lava is making new land. The lava goes down dry, go down. After so long, the lava starts breaking up and turns into lava dust. After so long, that dust turns into dirt. After so long, greens start growing there, grass, and it becomes land. So Hawaii is the top of Mu, and this island on the right is the top of Atlantis. So this was bigger than this, and there was pyramids and Buddha and all that stuff over the whole world. Those of you into the Bible could read the Tower of Babel. And in the Tower of Babel, God told them, y'all going too far. I'm going to have to split y'all up and make y'all talk different languages. And the Tower of Babel fell and cracked the Pangea, and people began to float apart. And over so many thousands of years, people began to look different and began to speak different languages. And a polar bear, one bear became white, one bear became brown, one bear became black based on the climate. They don't teach about the Pangea. So all of this symbolism is global. None of this symbolism has anything to do with only ancient Egypt, aka Kemet. None of this symbolism is stuck on Kemet. There are pyramids all over the Pangea. When this Pangea split, there's pyramids all in South America, there's pyramids all in Asia, all in Europe. There's pyramids everywhere they haven't even found yet. There's even pyramids in the ocean where Atlantis used to be. Right? Come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. Moderators, when somebody come and they're interrupting, please, moderators, get them out of here. Do your job. Toby should have been out of here. So anybody comes interrupt me, anybody try to teach on top of me, put them on timeout till tomorrow, okay? Mods. I need to get some new mods. I need some more mods. Let me see. Do I have any mods here today? Because my mods got jobs and stuff, and they got stuff they got to do. I got to get some more mods. So I'm going to make some of you all mods. I need mods over here. Because my other mods, they got jobs to do. They can't be here all the time. So I'm going to get some more mods. Okay? So that's what's going on. Okay? Okay, I'll go back when this is over. I'll go back in my lives and I'll make some of y'all mods. Okay? I'll look to see who was here and I'll add you as a mod. So when you see symbolism like ankhs, pyramids, Buddha, Christ, all those things are global. None of those things are stuck to a region, okay? That's why when they found Atlantis in that ocean, divers have found Atlantis. And there's all type of Egyptian artifacts and stuff in there, down there. As a matter of fact, my teacher, Sun Ra, what's the name of his album? And everybody knows Sun Ra represented ancient Egypt, but what is the name of this album? Atlantis, depicting the destruction of Atlantis. My teacher, Sun Ra, that I spent many, 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 many hours listening to. I never talked. I just let him talk. I never talked. When I sat around Sun Ra, I was only 20. I never talked. I just listened. There's his album, Atlantis. From the ancient spaceman, Sun Ra. Okay? And so when you see people question and say, well, bro, how you don't respect ancient teachers of Kemet when you got to symbolism? Everything you do, you're supposed to bring it up to date. You are not supposed to be no ancient Christian. You're supposed to be a 2025 Christian. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? You're supposed to be Christ-like today, based on Christ today. You're supposed to be a Muslim living in today, representing a 2025 Islam, a 2025 Buddhism. Today, everything you're supposed to be doing is supposed to be today. All of your people that you read were doing what they was doing in that time period. They was not doing no old history. Remember Christ? They kept telling Christ what Moses said, and Christ wasn't trying to hear what Moses said. Right? Christ wasn't trying to hear what Moses said. Now, just think, when Christ was walking around on the earth healing people with his herbs and helping the blind to see, and because he was healing, they don't want to teach that. Christ was a healer. His mother Mary was a healer. They kept telling Christ what Moses said. Moses said this, Moses said that, Moses said this, right? Look at this. And who did Christ meet with? Imagine they constantly telling Christ about Moses. And look, the transfiguration of Christ is a pivotal event in the New Testament, where Christ's divine glory was revealed to his disciple Peter, James, and John on the mountain. During the event, Christ's face and clothes became dazzling white, and he was joined by the prophet Moses and Elijah. So imagine keep telling Christ what Moses said, but Christ knew Moses. So instead of listening to what Christ was telling you then and now, you want to tell him some old stuff about Moses, but you don't even know that Moses sanctioned Christ to talk about today. Christ was sanctioned by Elijah and Moses. There it is right there. So everything Christ was saying was right and exact. But they wanted Christ to say what Moses said, but Christ had to say what Christ was saying. Christ can't say what Moses was saying. Moses was saying something back then. Christ is now at that time. So we got to say the message then. He had to what? Separate the time periods. You have to separate the time period from Moses and Elijah and Christ. You have to separate that. All of this is facts. So, foundational Black Americans, you must separate the time periods. You must function based off of your great-grandparents, your grandparents, you and your mate, and your children and your grandchildren. Not ancient history. History is never as important as the future. You want me to prove to you that the future is more important than history? I can prove it to you in a simple way. Which way do your feet face? Do your feet go that way, or is your feet this way? Put it in the chat. Are your feet on your legs going this way, or are your feet on your legs going that way? Put it in the chat. Is your feet facing the future, or is your feet facing the past? Put it in the chat. How's your feet made? Are your feet for the future, or is your feet for the past? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Is your feet for the past, or are your feet for the future? What about your eyeballs? Is your eyeballs in the back of your head? Where your eyeballs at? Is your eyeballs for the past, or are your eyeballs for the future? Put it in the chat. You rocking with Big Pharaoh. Put it in the chat. Where your eyeballs at? Because if the past was a big deal, your eyeballs would be in the back of your head and your feet would be backwards. Your eyeballs would be in the back of your head and your feet would be pointing this way. Everything I'm saying is for the young generation. Listen, y'all go forward. Don't y'all let nobody tell y'all, but Pharaoh said this and Pharaoh said that. Man, listen, tell them Pharaoh told me not to listen to you. Listen, I'm telling y'all, young people in the future, do not let nobody use me to go against y'all. Tell them Pharaoh said, don't use his name to go against the young generation. Make sure you get that straight. Don't let nobody say Big Pharaoh said this, and don't let nobody do that, because I don't condone that. I don't condone nobody using me for young people in the future, because young people in the future got to do their thing. They can't do my thing. I'm doing 2025. You might be doing 2035. 2025 stuff ain't going to work in 2035. You're going to have to do 2030 stuff, 2035 stuff. You're going to have to alter your teachings based on going in the future. Period. Make sure you let people know, I don't use me to go against the future generation. I don't want to be used like that. Let the young gods and young goddesses teach. The same way I don't want nobody stepping on me when I'm teaching, I don't want y'all stepping on nobody when they teaching. One thing I don't do is step on nobody when they teaching and go into their session and try to correct you in front of the people you're talking to. I never do that. Anything I say on my own YouTube. I do not go in the comments, Captain Corrector Ho. Some of y'all brothers, Captain Corrector Ho. You want to put on the cape, you are always trying to correct me. Then I come to your house, you eat sausages. You ain't taking care, you ain't even up to standard. You know everything but what's in your colon. I go in your refrigerator, what's in this ketchup? You don't even know what's in your ketchup. You don't know what's in your mustard. But you're in my live trying to tell me anything. You don't know none of the ingredients in the food in your house. But you smart. But your stomach, you neglect your own stomach and your own blood and your own liver and kidney when it comes to your liver and kidney and stomach. Now you dumb. But you can get in my chat and you're the smartest person in the world. Mind you, I come from the era. I don't come from the internet era. I come from the era when you're trying to challenge me and I'm at your crib, I open your refrigerator. Y'all don't come from the type of debating we used to do. Our debating was raw and outside. I'm at your house, you talk crazy, I'll open your refrigerator. As soon as I open up your refrigerator and I see them rabbits and ducks and chickens and pigs in there, I tell you to shut up. You got to shut up. Yeah, you got to shut up. Yeah, you got to shut up. You a fraud. Because the knowledge we own is 360 degrees. You got to have a whole 360 degrees. You can't be just heavy on history. But you eating lunch meat. No. You got to listen to Dr. Ben and Dick Gregory and Sun Ra, and you got to listen to you got to do the 360. You got to have it all together. You can't do 180. You got to do 360, 360 degrees of knowledge. So I'm making this to let y'all know, stop mixing reparations with ancient history. We don't care none about ancient history. We want our recent history on what this system did to our great-great-grandparents and our recent relatives. We are not going to let nobody enslave our people and keep their money, and then we get some freedom and we ain't standing on business for their money. Don't tell me you know general and you ain't standing on business for reparations. If you ain't standing 10 toes down on reparations, you ain't nothing. You ain't nothing if you ain't standing on reparations. There is nothing more important for foundational Black Americans than eating right and reparations. Because they owe you money and you don't let nobody punk your people. Because if you let them punk your great-great-great-grandmother, they going to punk you. And we have to show these people in the United States, we ain't no punks. And you took your foot off our necks, and we the first generation can stand up, so run our bread. We know that great-great-granddaddy couldn't stand up. We know that. We know great-great-granddaddy couldn't stand up. We know y'all oppressed them. We know you used your police force and your violence to mistreat us. We know that. And it's a shame that we got all this freedom, but now we ain't standing up. What's the point of them fighting for us to get to a liberated situation and now we not standing up? You scared when these brothers was trying to figure it out and put their lives on the line to figure it out for us and did all this work for us to stand up and be free. And now you ain't standing on no business. You ain't standing on reparations. That's like somebody did something to your great-grandmother and your great-grandmother was under some type of bondage. And then your grandfather was under it. Then your parents got a little free. Then you got totally free and you didn't go avenge your grandmama. You ain't going to go avenge your grandma. You ain't going to go avenge your granddaddy and your great-granddad. Some of y'all out here talking about Jesus, 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 Jesus. That they crucified Jesus ain't saying nothing about Medgar Evers. What about Medgar Evers? We going to just let that ride? We ain't gonna avenge that man. We ain't going to stand up for that man when they couldn't stand up for themselves. And we the first generation can stand up. And you the first generation can stand up and you want to talk about Kemet 15 billion years ago? But don't nobody care nothing about that. Man, don't nobody care nothing about none of that or none of that. Even MLK will tell you that. We standing on reparations. Look at all these black people that came out and didn't ride the bus because the way they treated Rosa Parks. We just gonna play Rosa Parks to the curb? She not one of the greatest black women in history? Are you kidding me? So this ain't our hero? Some queen way back in Kemet is supposed to be my hero? Over her? My mom and them from Alabama. When they bombed the church in Alabama, the young girls that got on the line, my mother went to school with them. My parents was there. This ain't no like long time ago, y'all. This ain't no long time ago stuff. This is recent. This is recent history, y'all. I was here. That's me and my sister and my daddy. You can tell it's the early 60s. In this picture, my daddy's a bus driver, but you couldn't necessarily ride on the front of the bus in certain states. That's me and my sister. We wasn't free. We wasn't free until I got 12 years old. We wasn't free until I got 12. All of this was happening during this picture. That's a fact. If you look at me, I look about 3 years old. This is 1961. This is 1961 and 1962. What was things like for Black Americans in 1962? Huh? When I was a little boy baby. Huh? Huh? What was things like when I was a little baby in 1962 when I was 4 years old? What was things like? Huh? In 1962, key civil rights events included James Meredith's enrollment at the University of Mississippi, which triggered the violent Ole Miss riots, and the Supreme Court's ruling that declared segregation, interstate and intrastate transportation unconstitutional. The year also saw the formation of the Council of Federation Organizations by groups like SNCC, CORE, and NAACP, and a major, though initially unsuccessful push for desegregation in Albany, Georgia. And if you don't know nothing about the Ole Miss riots, you need to look it up. You need to look it up. Yeah, you need to look it up. If you don't know nothing about it. So we not playing no games. We don't care nothing about ancient Egypt. The 1960s saw the most serious and widespread series of race riots in the history of the United States. Major riots occurred in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963, New York City in 1964, Watts, California in 1965, Chicago, Illinois in 1966, and more than that. This is not a joke. We don't care about no ancient history. We want our reparations. We don't care nothing about ancient Egypt. We don't care nothing about that. We got babies. Some of you young brothers gonna have families. What the hell is ancient Egypt and ancient Atlanta and ancient Bimini and Yucatan and Mu? What that gonna do for your babies and your grandbabies and you when you living under Trump and Elon Musk and you see what's going on today? Don't nobody care about no old history. Don't nobody care about standing up and fighting for your rights back hundreds of years ago. We're going to have to stand up and fight for our rights today. And we're going to have a separating of these time periods. And we're going to have to deal with this time period. And that time period is cool. That older time period, ancient Ethiopian, ancient Kemet and all that. But we're not doing that. Our lives is in the crosshairs today. Ain't nobody gonna come from ancient Kemet and save you. Ain't nobody gonna come from ancient Mesopotamia. Ain't no ancient Hebrew Israelites or ancient Islamic people gonna come save you in 2026. You're gonna have to get up to date. History, smistery. Black man, black woman, you do not have sex for history. You have sex to have babies in the future. Your whole life is futuristic, not historical. Our lives are not historical. Our lives are futuristic, and that's why we look at recent history so we can navigate in the near future. We don't look at recent history to think about what we should have did. We look at recent history to think what we gonna have to do in the near future. Stop listening to all that. Start telling these dudes you don't want to hear nothing about no doggone 2,000 years ago. What we gonna do tomorrow? On my soul. And it's reparations or it ain't nothing. If they ain't talking about reparations, they ain't talking about shit. I don't care who they are. If they not pushing FBA and they not pushing reparations, they have no leadership qualities. They ain't nothing. They is not nothing. You can tell any of your so-called scholars and teachers, Pharaoh said that. If you ain't pushing reparations, you are not walking in these men's footsteps. You are not. You are not. If you're not pushing reparations, don't mention these men. Because these men, if they were here, that's what they would be on. That's what they would be on. That's what Elijah Muhammad would be on. That's what MLK would be on. That's what Malcolm X would be on. Straight up. Straight just like that. If you ain't standing on that, you ain't standing on nothing. Get out the way. Like Ludacris said, move, B. Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way, B. Move. If you ain't standing on that, I'll tell any of these dudes to their face. Don't nobody want to hear all that. It's only one thing we own, y'all. The battle for reparations. Know that. They ain't talk about that, tell them to shut up. On my soul. Victory.